tonight. So our role really is helping investors to be able to have a better quality of life and make more from their investments. So if you can, comment in the chat where you are in the property game. I know that we usually have such a mixture. Are you new, or are you in HMOs, or are you in rent to rent, or anything else? Just comment in the chat, because I will see that as I'm going through, and it'll help me to know, how to pitch things. So what I'm going to be talking about tonight is a bit different to what I'm normally talking about. I'm talking about property cash flow with little money, but really tonight I'm going to focus on buying properties with little money using creative strategies, because I know that this is something that people are really interested in, and there's a huge opportunity for it as well right now. The next thing that I'm talking about is something that I get asked a lot, which is, what is the future of HMOs? What about HMOs right now during coronavirus? And also with HMOs and property in general, should you be buying now or should you be waiting? And we touched on this a little bit earlier with Anne, and we're talking about the recession-proof strategies that you can implement now and move forward. And I just want to say that I've had a few comments in the chat. I've got Harry, who's new, Emma doing HMOs, Gillian, HMOs and buy-to-let. Andrew just setting up R2R. There's quite a few. Graham, 3 HMOs, fabulous, and Ian, new to property and looking at social housing. So really, as I thought, quite a mix. So I hope you're excited for tonight's talk. And if you do have any questions that you would like me to touch on, you can also put those in the chat and I'm going to cover them for you. So everyone has a story, and many of you know me already, so I'm just going to keep this super short. That's me. I'm the ice cream lover on the left, and Nikki T is also quite keen on the ice cream there on the right. So I'm going to keep this part super short, but I just want to give you a little introduction to who I am, and Howard has already sort of given you a taster of what we do. So as I say, I started in 2016. Previous to that, I thought that business and property and all that malarkey was for other people, and that I didn't have enough time, enough money, or enough knowledge, or the right contacts to get started. But then my mum got sick, and I knew that to be there for her, that I needed to do something different. I couldn't be tied to my job in Bristol. And because at the time I was 45 when all this kicked off, I thought, you know what, if I'm going to do something, I need to do it now. That put a bit of urgency behind it. But before I started, I was scared and worried. But fast forward to today, and but some of you will know I work with my sister Nikki, and we have created our thriving rent-to-rent business, HMO Heaven, with contracts worth over £2 million. We've sacked our bosses, we've systemized our business and employed a full-time property manager. We've bought property worth over £1 million, and £1 million goes a long way in Wales. So we've got 28 units, including commercial and multi-unit blocks. And I'm going to talk about using little money, as I said, with lease options and exchange with delayed completion. And I was excited to see that actually Howard has some amazing courses on this that are super value prices as well. So something to check out if you are interested in these things. So yeah, and also been published in the Telegraph, Property Investor. I'm rushing a little bit. Property Investor Today, and in specialist HMO publications. So that's who we are, and our business HMO Heaven is helping you invest in the high cash flow HMOs without the hassle. We do the full end-to-end service, but we're focused especially on the managing the investments to do that work so that you don't have to. And we do it for what you might call accidental landlords, as well as professional investors like yourselves who want a guaranteed return. And our small team do an incredible job. I'm super proud of Luke, who does the majority of it, because he's the reason why we've got a 4.9 rating and all those reviews on Google. So I want to dive straight into our topics for tonight. So first of all, we're talking property cash flow with little money, a very sexy thing. And especially when you're talking about property cash flow for little money when you're buying the properties, because I think many of us are very aware of the strategies where you make cash flow but you're renting the property. But with these strategies, you actually own the asset as well, and you get that wealth creation side of thing, long term, building long term wealth building. But you might be sort of slightly disbelieving, like I was at the start, but it is actually a thing. And now that we've done it a few times, I know that it absolutely works. So lease option. Oh, yes, lease option. You've got the option to buy a property by an agreed date for a pre-agreed price. So you can buy or not buy. And with exchange with delayed completion, you're contracted to buy the property at an agreed price on an agreed date in the future. And with both of these, you can arrange it so that you can transfer the contracts if you decide that you don't want to buy. And so I'm going to give you a couple of examples of where we've been doing this, or where we have done this in Wales. One of them is a bumper deal that I think you're really going to love. So, and actually, just thinking, this has only just come to me. The first time we met this couple was actually at the property networking event. And this property here is 4 self-contained flats, all on one title. And you'll see later on that I think there's massive opportunity in this type of a property for reasons I'll come to later. But this is an exchange with a delayed completion. So how it works is that we agreed a date within 5 years. We agreed a price, which 160K, I think you'll agree, a very fair price. We agreed the option fee. Now, the option fee can be anything. Oh, in this case, it's not an option fee, but we agreed the fee. It can be anything from £1. So that's why these strategies are often referred to as no money down. But it can be whatever you negotiate. In this case, we're paying 16K. Well, we've paid 16K upfront, and then we have a monthly payment, £320 every month. And what this essentially works out to is this actually is rent free, because we pay the monthly payment every month, and then at the end of the 5 years, if that's when we complete, we then deduct the £16,000 that we've already paid, and we deduct all of those payments of £320, and then we just pay the balance. And so the monthly cash flow on this one will be £1,500 a month, and the 5-year cash flow is £90,000. So it's an incredible deal. And you might be thinking, why on earth is the monthly payment so low? And that is all down to ninja negotiation techniques. And in this case, it's not our ninja negotiation techniques, but there's an amazing book called Never Split the Difference. Have any of you come across that one? Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Negotiate as though your life depends on it, because it does. He's an FBI, or he was an FBI negotiator, and there's some amazing tips in there. But one of the main ones is that when you go into a negotiation, that you should go in to understand the other party first, not to be understood. And in this case, it was the couple who suggested to us the monthly payment, and obviously it works amazingly well for us, but it was what they wanted as well. And so this is just a great deal for us. So I'll move on to another one. Now this one it's also a good deal, but it's not as amazing as the other one. We negotiated this quite a while ago. So we've got an 8-bed HMO here. This is one of the properties that we're doing on rent to rent. So for those of you who are going into the rent to rent strategy, you will find that lots of lease option opportunities will come to you just as you're going about your normal business doing rent to rent. So this one, the fee we paid there was £20,000. Our monthly payment is £1,500. So the monthly cash flow is much less. But still overall it's a solid deal, and at the end of the day we'll then own that property. And you might kind of wonder, well, what is in it for the owner? But the owners sometimes are not, we're property investors, we want to sort of maximize the returns on the property, but actually this owner just wanted to get rid of this property, and it caused him a lot of problems over the years. And when we took it over and turned it round, because before we took it on he was losing over £1,000 a month, he just, once he could get the valuation that he was happy with, which he was able to get once it was fully turned around and fully tenanted, he just wanted to get out, and just wanted it to be as simple as possible. So it really worked for him as well. The mistake that I see people making in this whole lease options and creative strategies is that they're not approaching it from a win-win-win. And that's the mistake. When you go into these, you want to have a relationship, not a transaction. The ideal is for anybody you work with to want to sell you their whole portfolio and not only that one property. You want people to go around absolutely delighted to work with you and telling all their friends. And the thing is, it's so easy to be exceptional in the property world because a lot of people aren't trying to be. And for those, so now I'm going to, so that's us, we've covered off how to get started with little money buying properties. And I know that you'll be able to follow up with that if you're interested. Do contact Howard, because I know that he's able to help you with that. So now we're going into the strategy, which you may know more so, and I'm just going to go over the top and give you the headline because I want to get onto some other things which I know that you'll be more interested in, which are right pertinent to now, which is the coronavirus. But what is rent to rent? You rent a property, you pay the owner a guaranteed rent, and you usually take on paying the bills. You rent the property out to tenants for a higher rent than you're paying the owner. So for those of you who are buying HMOs, if you're already managing your own HMOs, then you might be able to provide a service like this to other landlords. And you can come at it from their perspective, and they might prefer to work with you rather than a letting agent who's got 200 properties. And it's a very beautiful business model because little startup is required. You can be profitable within a few months, and most normal businesses are not profitable in the first year. You've got consistent, you've got consistent cash flow. Most businesses don't have that. And the craziness is you've got the names and addresses of your perfect customers. So it's really an incredibly efficient business model. And as I was saying before, it's a win-win-win. That is what we're aiming for. We're not aiming to fleece anybody or do anybody out of anything. What you're aiming to do is take something that's failing, turn it around, make more, and because you're adding that value, you get to keep some of it. And that's how we work it. Oh, that was a rogue slide, I think. And if you're interested in finding out more about that, we have got some free information for you. So just want to show you a couple, a few examples. The first few properties that we got, just a quick flick through the before and afters. And these numbers on the screen are the additional cash flows that we're achieving. So you'll recognize if you're in Newport, these are all in Newport in Wales. You might recognize some of the addresses. This is the 8-bed that we are now buying. Ferric Avenue, £600 cash flow, Clyde Square, £700. And after 5 properties, that amounts to £3,638. After a year, it's over £43,000 in profit after the costs of running the properties. And why 5 is the magic number? It's, especially those of you with children know that 5 years, goes so quickly, but so much changes. And it's the same in property. After 5 properties, it's over £200,000 every 5 years. So it's absolutely mind-blowing what happens over time when you do the right thing, and it's not that much time. So your life changes a bit in a few months, and then a lot in 2 years. So if you want to know about HMOs and coronavirus, I'm going to be talking about the 2 main challenges that are facing now, and also how to get over them. And then we'll go on to, is now a good time to buy, or should you wait? So the main threats at the moment are non-payment of rent and voids, empty rooms, due to the corona. And this actually hasn't turned out to be such a massive issue. Put in the comments, how has your rent payment been? Has it been okay, or have you had, or has it gone down quite a lot? We were actually quite worried about this, especially because there's a 3-month delay on evictions, and it seemed like the government was saying to tenants that you've got a mortgage holiday, which of course we all know that you don't really actually have a mortgage holiday. You've still got to pay all of the money, whether you pay it now or whether you pay it later. Yeah, Emma's saying just 3 down to 80% and the rest are 100%. That's really good. Ron's saying all his rents were paid. So I think you're finding the same as we have done, that there hasn't really been a massive issue. So I'm going to go through these slides kind of quickly. So we had a 3-step plan to deal with this via email, so that there's an audit trail. And the first one is obviously to communicate with the tenants, and we have got a lot of points that we're putting into those emails to ensure that we're covering all the bases, that we're giving them the information that they need, but we're also letting them know that, you know, rent is a priority payment, that there is a risk if they don't pay. Owen saying that one tenant was £150 light and 10 others all on time. So I think everyone who's commented so far is actually doing pretty well. And that's what I've been hearing from other landlords, that, you know, coronavirus hasn't really had a massive effect on the tenants being able to pay because of all the government support. But if you do, the secret sauce, this is, and if you do want the secret sauce, which is we do a form where there's a rent payment plan request form. So this was to separate the wheat from the chaff, because, you know, there's always some people who want to be chancers. And if people are coming to ask for a rent reduction, then we've got this form. Now, if you are having difficulties, or if you just want the form, we don't normally give this form out beyond the people who we work with. But anybody who's on this call tonight, if you do want this form, we're more than happy to give it to you. We called it a rent payment request form. It's an online form, and it tells us about the tenant has to put their financial situation, their proposal for their rent plan, and we ask them all obviously to apply for universal credit and to include that reference number from that application. Then step 3 of the plan is we agree the payment plan. So that's the 3-step plan. And if you would like either the emailed templates that we used or the rent payment plan itself, then yeah, just get in touch. I'll be talking about my contact details towards the end, and we will send those over to you, because you're on this call with Howard and Grant. So the big issue, and the one that has been a big issue for many, is that people are moved out because of coronavirus, and then those rooms are remaining empty. So let's talk about that. And this is some ways to fill your rooms right now if this is affecting you. And we found that actually we were contacted by recruitment agencies for key workers. And this would really suit people, especially if you have single lets or if you have HMOs that are entirely empty. It's a bit more difficult to house key workers if you're in a house share situation, because for obvious reasons, the tenants are not so keen. What our experience has been was that there was a couple of weeks, it might have even been 3, where there was hardly anything at all on spare room. And then now it's gone back to normal. Last week, 4 new people moved in, so we're coming back to normal. So we manage just over 100 rooms between the properties that we own and manage. And we had just coming on 10% had moved out that were empty, and now we're coming back up. We normally keep the voids, at almost zero, because we've got somebody that's Luke's main job. Um, so yeah, so it's coming back. It's coming back. Let me know what you're finding on the void side of things. Have you had that experience? Harmit's saying, yeah, please, could I have the form? So I'm going to give you the details, Harmit. So hang on, so you can contact me and I can send everything across to you if you're interested. So handling the voids. Yeah. So basically, if you're handling the voids like we are at the moment, those 6, um, you just got to look after your tenants. We're obviously not going to evict anybody at the moment, even if we could, um, and claim the support that you can. And that's the other amazing thing, that we've got all of the reports now. Who has applied for the back comments, and have you got it, or have you had problems? Most people have been getting them very quickly. That was a phenomenal thing, never to be seen again, where you can just apply and within minutes, within 24 hours in some cases, the money's in the bank. The different world. So yeah, so there's a lot of different things there. There's the business rates relief, you've got the direct grants, some councils are also giving grants. So it's really important to make sure that you're taking advantage of everything that's available there to support you. The great thing about it is that it doesn't matter what happens, because in 5 years, if we've had a blip where 3 or 4 months were bad, and we've got a magic of 5 in 5 years, that's not going to matter. The value of your properties has gone up. You're going to have had the rent for all of those other months. So it's important to keep that focus ahead, because we will be coming out of this. Things will return to normal, and it's important to put yourself in that position where when it comes to normal, you are ready. You're ready for it. Which brings us on to the next thing that I'm always getting asked is now the right time to buy? Are we at the bottom of the market? What about if I buy now and the market further goes down? So I'm all over. This won't surprise you. I think, yes, absolutely. If the right opportunity comes along, then it's buy, buy, buy. But there's one thing that you should not be buying now. And I see a lot of people are making this mistake, so I must caution you against it. If you can guess what it is. This. This is the stuff that you shouldn't be buying, which brings me neatly onto my third area for this evening, which is, what should you be buying? What makes sense right now? What is recession proof? What is going to stand you in good stead? What is going to have you in 10 years' time saying, oh, I wish I'd bought more of them, like people were doing from the last recession. So I'm going to come on. So tell me in the comments, who's buying now? Who's buying now? Let me know. What I see is there's opportunity in every market, and there's more opportunity in a down market. Why is that, you say? It's because in a down market, fewer people are looking for the opportunities. Fewer people can see the opportunities. And thirdly, fewer people can finance the opportunities. And that's why it's so important to be part of a network like this, because your ability to take advantage of these opportunities depends on being able to finance them. And having somebody in your corner like Harvey Bowes is what can make the difference between success and failure. Oh, wow. So in the comments, Owen's saying that he's completing on 4 flats tomorrow. That is fantastic. Harry's saying that he's fully prepared for when the opportunity is here. And Aspire is saying that, yes, now. Yes, Emma's had one. Emma's doing a purchase and a lease option, I think it is. Right. Yeah, because we all know the quotes. The Buffett quote, for example, be when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. And we know instinctively, and because we've seen it with other people, that fortunes are made in the recessions. So the four big opportunities that I see and I think really work well um, across the country, but specifically in Wales, where we are, those creative purchase opportunities. And I'm gonna take each of these in turn now. So we've got the creative purchase opportunities. We've got the self-contained flats on one title. We've got the commercial, especially bed and breakfasts and care homes, and social housing, which I discussed earlier. So let's start off with the creative purchase opportunities. We've given you a couple of examples of the ones that we've done. And what is going to happen now is that more people are going to be selling because they don't want the hassle or other reasons. Fewer people are going to be buying. That's an opportunity for you, especially if the market values go down and people want a higher price. You can offer them that flexibility. You can offer them that higher price over time, still at a fair market value, but higher than what they could get if they were to sell it today. It gives them the opportunity to step away, and it gives you the opportunity to step in and have a magnificent a property that works amazing for you, but also gives them what they need. Martin's saying he's completed on 2 buy-to-lets, I think, in lockdown. Al is due to complete on 2 very soon. There's a lot of 2s. So that's the options, and I think you should definitely learn about those strategies, because those strategies are really going to be able to catapult your success. You don't need to have all the money together in one go before you start. Now, self-contained flats on one title. I've already seen in the chat that quite a few of you are buying flats right now. I mean, a block of flats. When I'm talking about the self-contained flats on one title, I'm talking about the conversions. And the reason I love these, we kind of fell into it by accident because there was so much competition on buying like a 5 or 6 bed HMO, but there's hardly any competition when you're buying these self-contained units on one title, especially if they require commercial finance. So again, this is where, you know, having Harvey Bowes in your corner is gonna help, and knowing all the inside track and the ins and outs of what you can and you can't do. It's really important with these financing to be able to tell your story in a specific way, and the stories that different lenders like, or what different lenders focus on in somebody's background, varies, and you're, you know, a good broker like Harvey Bowes will know that and be able to help you through it. So why I love self-contained units on one title is that you save massively on the conversion costs because it's already converted, and often all you need is a bit of spit and polish and increase the rents. When you increase the rents, you increase the values. They're just such a magnificent model, and I'm going to show you an example of one that we bought in a moment. You've got the economies of scale in terms of the finance costs, the refurb costs, the management costs. Everything is lower per unit. So the one I'm going to show you is 12 units. If we had tried to buy 12 properties, our finance costs would be so much higher than actually buying 12 in one. I love that you can significantly increase the value in a short period of time just by something as simple as putting the rent up. It's that easy because it's a commercial, and there's less competition, as I say, so therefore the prices are lower. So here's one. You know, as I mentioned, this one's at Stow Hill. It's 12 units, as I said, and there's a little shop on the front, so it was commercial finance. And I've got a few pictures to show you. It's kind of an unusual setup. It's like 10 bed sits. So we didn't know how well this would rent, because what I mean by a bed sit is what you see there: bedroom, kitchen, and lounge, with with bathrooms separate. So it's got 10 of these with 3 shared bathrooms, and then it's got a 2-bedroom flat, and it's got the little shop. So this is, yeah, before, as I say, and here's the after. And the other great thing about this is you're cash flowing from day one. As we took on the property, there were a few empty, which we refurbished. And then as people move out, we continue through and refurbish the others. And it's just been a phenomenal property. You won't believe the, well, you will believe, but the overview of this one is that each of those units, if we take the 375 purchase price, divide it by 12, it's £32,000. So each of these, you couldn't even buy a house in the valleys for 30, I don't believe, for £32,000. And so this is £32,000 each cash flowing unit. Each unit is renting out for between £400 and £600 a month. And you can see the figures there. The gross rent is 66,000, the yield 17%. So we've got a net return. We've got £100,000 cash within this property. We've got a net rent of £42,000. So it's a 42% return on capital. And there's even better stuff going on. Gillian's asked a good question here. Putting kitchens in each unit, hasn't the council tried to tax you? Great question, Gillian. Well, the kitchens were there. We didn't kind of put them in. They were there, so we just went with it. We didn't take them out. Well, it wouldn't have worked because there's nowhere to put a communal kitchen in this building. So we just went along with it. And so no, it's just still on the same council tax basis that it was when we bought it, which is one for all 10 units, a separate business rates for the shop, and a separate council tax for the 2-bed flat. So that's this one. And this is the post refurb cash flow, but we will have to take some money out of this for the refurb itself. So you can see that it's kind of high on the mortgage because we actually went for a repayment on this one. I know a lot of people like to totally leverage, but I think for us, we wanted to be a mix between some interest only and some repayment. And some of the utilities are separated to the individual tenants. Nikki knows more about that than I do, the detail. But you can see that it's costing us £2,400 odd a month to run it. Our income is just touching on £6,000. So, you know, I love the 5 years. So every month it's cash flowing 3,500, every year 42,000, and every 5 years over £200,000 just for this one property. So again, I urge you to like think about if this multi-unit strategy could really work for you. I think it can work for most people. And I think you needn't obviously start off with at 12. You could always start off with 3 units, live in one and rent out the other 2, depending on where you are in this journey. It's a great way to be able to put the money that you would spend on your own property to catapult your investing forward a little bit faster. And on top of that, this property also gave us 120k because what happened was, as you know, especially those of you who are based in Wales, that what's been happening with the lender valuations, even before COVID, was that you'd agree a price and then it would go to the lender and the valuation would come back much, much, much lower. So we had gone through this process and we'd lost out the properties because of this. And we were really nervous that we wouldn't get the valuation. And we were blown away when the valuation came back at 500,000. So 500,000, because, you know, they give you the 30-day, 60-day and 90-day, and the 90-day fully tenanted was 500,000. So I was just blown away. Oh, are we on the break?
No, Stephanie, you should be able to continue. There is 5 minutes till we were going to break. I don't know how far you are along in your process, but you should be able to continue.
Okay, I've only got a little bit left. Okay, just wanted to check. Okay, brilliant. Okay. So we got this 120K in theory on paper. We got 120K, but this property has been very, very good to us. So the final one is that I think is a real opportunity is the, oh no, it's not the final. No, I've got one more after this. The commercials and commercial property, but in particular because of what's happening right now, B&Bs. B&Bs have always been one that will work out well for you. The reason is that it's hard to finance a B&B, not just for most people. It's hard for them to get the lending because a lot of B&B show a low profit for various reasons, and so it's hard to get the borrowing that the sellers want for the prices the sellers want. So that means that when you're buying B&Bs, you're much more likely to be able to do so on a lease option or exchange with delayed completion, where you don't have to have all of your money up front. And even more so now after this whole corona, and they're typically owned by couples who are not necessarily business people. So B&Bs, I think, is a big one, and care homes for similar reasons. They're difficult to make work, and lots of people are selling out. So I'm going to have to sort of take these quite quickly. I've talked about these. The challenges for owners means that they often prioritize speed over price, which is amazing for you. The funding challenges for most buyers make the creative solutions look more attractive for them. There are fewer buyers for these sort of properties, which means lower prices for you. And this is just an example of one we did. It's not a B&B or a care home, but we got it at 150K. We're turning it into 4 flats. At the moment, it's cash flowing with its commercial tenants. We've got the planning to go to 4 flats. Oh, I timed myself. So I'm just going to move on to my last one, which I touched on with you, the social housing. And you all know that this just makes so much sense. And Howard said earlier that he's implemented this across some of his portfolio just to spread the risk. And I think this is really going to be good for us. Universal credit's gone up. It's recession proof. Sometimes you can get these annual leases, fully repairing and insuring, etc. And you can leverage partnerships. It takes a little bit longer to set these partnerships up, but once you've got them, you can then buy to order, which means that your lending is going to be at more preferable rates when you've got your income already sorted before you go into it. So I would love to obviously carry on the conversation with you. These are on, we've got all the stuff on YouTube, Facebook, and I'm now on Instagram. I'm one of the cool kids. So